Hi and welcome. I'm trying to learn history, today Assyria, and after we've done it, we're gonna do shoulder impingement training. And if you participate in the shoulder impingement training, then it's at your own risk, and we're talking a bit about war. Assyria. Now we're having an article and we want to make a little thing about the story of Assyria, of the empire. So the first thing here written is the Assyrians came originally from the upper Tigris Valley around the cities of Ashur, Nineveh and Abela. This is the second part already of Assyria. Which you're doing. Okay, they came from cities of Ashur, Nineveh and Arbela, but we want to concentrate on Assyria. So, 4,000 years ago was Assyria invaded by Amorites. And under a line of Amorite kings, Assyria built up a huge empire. King Adad-nirari I called himself king of everything. Okay, 4,000 years ago, the region Assyria was conquered by the Amorites. And these Amorites emperors or kings built up a huge empire, which lasted for 600 years or 6 centuries, but then it broke down through attacks by the Mitannian horsemen. And then from 1114 until 1076 before Christ did King Tiglath-Pileser I rebuilt Assyria's power by conquest, creating the new Assyrian Empire. Okay, but then 3,000 years ago, so 400 years after the empire had broke down through attacks by the Mitannian horsemen, then 3,000 years ago, King Tiglath-Pileser Tiglath-Pileser I. Tiglath-Pileser, Mitannia. Tiglath-Pileser. Tiglath-Pileser I. King Tiglath-Pileser I, Mitannia, or Mitannia also. 3,000 years ago, King Tiglath-Pileser I then started conquesting, and he conquered some things, and so the new Assyrian Empire was created. Assyrian stone carvings were skillfully done, many such as this one showing a genie decorated palace walls. Now this is a stone carving, an Assyrian stone carving. We're gonna bring something in at the end, after we said about the empire, some 2-3 facts to it. Maybe we can mention that with stone carvings. The new Assyrian Empire reached its peak under Tiglath-Pileser I, okay, the same name, under King Tiglath-Pileser I. That was 300 years later, and was finally overthrown by the Medes and Babylonians 600 before Christ. And the new Assyrian Empire reached then its peak under King Tiglath-Pileser I around 2,700 years ago. But then was a century later by attacks from the Medes and Babylonians. Who's the king who can, according to some stories, transform stone into gold, everything, which it was Medes? Okay. The Medes and Babylonians then overthrew by 2,600 years ago the new Assyrian Empire. Tiglath-Pileser and Mitannia horsemen. The Assyrians had bows, iron swords, spears and chariots. We don't have to mention that. The Assyrians built good roads all over we want to mention that, to the empire. They built good roads all over the empire so that the army could move fast to quell trouble. And they had bows, iron swords, spears and chariots. Okay, and during the time of the empire we're starting with the buildings, they also built magnificent palaces and cities such as Khorramshahr and Nimrud. I want to have these 2-3 cities here named so that we're more familiar with them. If they then appear again, we already know what it's talking about. And we don't have to be here for 30 seconds and learn the name like Tiglath-Pileser. Khorramshahr and Nimrud. Khorramshahr. Nimrud. Khosrow and Nimrud. During the time while this, which empire? While this empire existed, huge cities were built, magnificent cities were built. For example, Nimrud, that's the easier one. Nimrud and Khosrow. Nimrud and Khosrow. And also many roads were built to make it possible for the army to travel fast from one place to another to quell rebellions. What was it? Quell trouble. For the army to move fast on these good roads. Wealthy Assyrians strove to outdo each other with elaborate clothing and luxurious houses. The empire grew rich. We have that part. I think we can't really mention it. We want to concentrate just on the story of empire. But maybe. Why not? Why not add it? The good roads to move the army. The army, they had iron swords and bows and chariots. Iron swords and spears and chariots and bows. Iron swords and spears. Iron swords and spears and I don't really know what a chariot is. Chariots and bows. And they built magnificent cities, for example, Nimrud and Khosrow. And the people, they were elaborating the name. And also fancy clothing and luxurious houses were a symbol of status. I think we could say that. Were admired, were striven for, were strived for, were desired, were tried to be achieved. That's good. And fancy clothing and luxurious houses were tried to be achieved. And there was also, I want to name it also, King Ashurbanipal's. Palace was filled with books and plants from all over the world. And there was, for example, one king Ashurbanipal, and he had his palace filled with books and plants from all over the world. And we were also doing skillful stone carvings. Okay, now we have all the information together. And now we want to do as a presentation, not waste time with this to lose, and I want to have information further. But let's look at what we have. We had that 4,000 years ago, the Amorites came to the region Assyria, and when under these Amorites, under multiple of these kings, Assyria grew to be a rich country, grew to be a huge empire. Then 400 years later, was 6 centuries later, and then it lasted 6 centuries, and then 300 years against late. Where's 400? We no longer go for 400. 600, and then the 400, and then the other 400. 4,000 years ago, and then 3,400 or 600 years later, when it broke down through attacks of the Mitannians, horsemen. But then through King Tiglath-Pileser the first, who made conquesting, it was rebuilt and the new Assyrian Empire was created. And it reached then its peak. No, we don't want to say that even. It's not really important. It reached its peak under Tiglath-Pileser III, 300 years later. But just 400 years after it was established, the new Assyrian Empire also broke down through attacks of the Medes and the Babylonians. While the new Assyrian Empire existed, there were many good roads built so that the army could move fast from place to place. And these warriors, they had iron swords and spears and bows and chariots. And the people, they were doing sometimes, it doesn't really fit, the people were doing skillful stone carvings, and also was a desire to wear fancy clothes and luxuriant houses. And there was, for example, then another thing, King Ashurbanipal. He had in his palace lots of books and plants from all over the world. Okay, Ashurbanipal. It's Manipal. That was the history part. So if you go here for history, for Assyria, then you can go to the next part of history, where we will then try to do all the knowledge which you just said in the presentation. For our personal video that we have information as we just sent. So if you're here for history, go to the next part of history or history Assyria. We might want to do something else in history first, which you for me, for example. So go to history. If you stay and participate in the shoulder impingement training, then this will let you out. Good, step stance, and we do shoulder circles. Looking back, up, and front, and down. And again back, front, and down, and not backwards. And now, long arms, strong fists, and go as far back as you can with the shoulders, as high up as possible, in front, and down, and again, back, up, and front, and down, and backwards, up, and back, down, front, up, back, and down. And now, the accelerating motorcyclist, legs wide apart, into the knees, inch over to the straight back, let the arms hang, pinch the shoulders together, shoulder blades. Make fist, lift the arms up and pinch the scapula together. Lift the arms down, the shoulders, another pinch the scapula together. Make fists and lift the arms up and step, pinch the scapula together. Next exercise, the ski jumper. Into the knees, hinge forward, with a jump back, with the arms hang, leg fists, turn the arms to the inside, arms high up and together, straighten up, shoulders down, together. So the arms high up and together, shoulders down and together. And release. And another round. Into the knees, hinge forward, with a round back, let the arms hang, leg fists, turn the arms to the inside, arms high up and together, straighten up, shoulders down and together. And release. The next exercise, just the arms. If this or any other exercise hurts, then don't do it. And last one. The arms to the side and now in front. Just observe what the scepters are doing. And to the next exercise, we will lift a good and stable stance, long arms, strong fist, shoulders down and together with effort, and turn the arms to the inside. Now the arms to the outside, the shoulders are staying down and together. Arms to the inside, shoulders down and together. Arms to the outside, shoulders down and together. And release. Now the arms to the side, a bit in front, turn the arms in front, shoulders down and together. Arms back and shoulders also up and in front. And arms in front, shoulders down, hands together. Arms back, shoulders up and in front. And release. And now we shrug. Arms up and shrug the shoulders up and all down. Again, all up. Shoulders up and down. And now time the arms up. Shoulders up and down. And now take one. Now, first the sunlight. You can use whatever you want. Have it with a long arm at the outside. Let it fall down and try to catch it again. And on the other side. And now the stretching. Take one arm, bring it in front, shoulders back, just down. Pull the arm in and have fingers, try to relax the arm. Turn the palm to the sky. Come with the shoulder bit back. And the arm around. Pull the arm in, hands down. Pull the arm in. The shoulder is back and down. Pull the arm in, have flat fingers, try to relax the arm. Go a bit back with the shoulder and turn the palm a bit up to the sky. It was a shoulder impingement training. I thank you very much, and until next time.